Hi, everyone, and welcome to Parents Engaging Parents Beloved Community Check-In. My name is Erica Beverett, and I am here tuning in from and reporting from Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Just going to be talking about a topic that is relevant all throughout New Jersey. We know that there's a lot of people advocating for the rights of Black and Brown people throughout the communities, but a lot of unfair stuff is going on. So we're going to have a guest on with us tonight. His name is Terrance Bankston, and he's going to be sharing the work that he's been doing in the environmental justice realm. But just to definitely let you guys know, PEP's mission is to promote civic awareness and proactive community advocacy based on the interests of parents and communities. So this past week, we had a pretty awesome event that we were a part of, and it was the East Orange YMCA's Healthy Kids Day for 2022, and shout out to Washima Redding, over there, executive director at the YMCA of East Orange. She did a phenomenal job of bringing together all of the community organizations. She had lots of kids out there receiving face painting and healthy foods that Parents Engaging Parents, along with our parent champion, Elise West, who was giving out healthy foods, as she does all the time on Marcy and Prospect every weekend, pretty much. So you guys need to go check her out there. But yeah, we were out there at the YMCA on Saturday, and it was just a really fantastic event. So if you didn't know about it, I'm so sorry. I had actually somebody that reached out on Facebook, and they were like, but you didn't tell me about it. And no, we did. But now that hopefully they were able to subscribe on our website to let, so they could find out, when these events are happening. So with that, I see that Terrance is in the background, and so we're going to bring him on in a few, but I definitely wanted to give our condolences to the families in Buffalo, New Jersey. It's really such an unfortunate event, and shout out to Duncan Kirkland, who has been doing lots of work in that community, and he does a lot of advocacy out there, building up young men, and really teaching his resilience platform all around the world at this point, because I think that he's been as far as Singapore, and he was actually featured on our beloved community check-in very early on in 2020. So shout out to him, and our condolences to the family. And if you don't have your hands on his book, please check it out. Look him up on Amazon, and see if you can tap in to some resilience on this journey. Yeah, we definitely want to take the time to, reflect on also not only the unfortunate event of Buffalo, New Jersey, but, why this is happening and what's going on within this culture that our nation is surrounded by and emulates pretty much. This white supremacy culture that's happening. It's just, it's unfortunate. It's sickening. We're tired of it. And we're tired of seeing them walk away unscathed. time and time again, we keep on seeing these white nationalist people come through our communities, wreak havoc, and walk away unscathed. I did hear that President Biden was out there and sent his condolences as well. I don't know how effective that's going to be. We're pretty much tired of talking at this point, aren't we all? So with that, yes, we need, as a nation to come together and respect that we're in a place of unrest still, even though that a lot of companies have come out with their statements, right? Statements are nice, but action is better. Yeah, the whole point of equity and inclusion is needed, but not just through words, through actions. So with that, hopefully, Terrance, you're ready to jump on. Mr. Bankston. Okay, Mr. Bankston is not ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up who Mr. Bankston is. He is an environmental justice organizer in New Jersey, and he has a long history of environmental activism. He has worked with Clean Water Action for short-term projects since 2005, and he has extensive experience in workforce development and student outreach, marketing, and social media. He graduated from Bloomfield College with a BA in public policy, and he earned his master's degree from Fairleigh Dickinson University in administrative science. He's brought leadership, compassion, and energy to every issue he has taken on, and we are thrilled to have Terrance with us. And hopefully you are ready. So I am going to bring you to stream. All right, Mr. Bankston, how are you today? Looks like we have, I'm going to remove you and see if you've got to add your audio. Okay, we're going to give Mr. Bankston 2 seconds to get his stuff together over there, get his audio in line. But, when we spoke about equity and inclusion that's needed, this environmental justice piece and subject matter is definitely all enmeshed in that, because we know that it seems that, and it's actually evident, right, that Black and brown people are the ones that are subjected to the pollutants that plague the cities. And of course, it in turn is a contributor to health problems. And So, we have to be mindful and really get active and start shaking up, your cities and letting people know what it is and how it's affecting your community. We can't, we can't any longer go through life just, just going with the flow. Like, this, enough, right? We can't go with the flow anymore. So here, we're gonna see if Terrance was able to get his audio straight. And how you making out? Okay. All right. Terrance has got, you know what happens? We all get connected to all those Bluetooths. So sometimes that might interfere. So you might need to turn some of those off. Sometimes that happens as well. So, just to speak on a little bit further on this issue of environmental health and safety and environmental justice, like as a kid, I don't know about you guys if you remember saying that Pledge of Allegiance, but in the back of my mind, I always hear those words, with liberty and justice for all. And, when you start to really reflect on those words, how much do those words resonate with us as Black and brown people? It doesn't. I know even as a child, saying those words, I felt a type of way. And I don't know if anybody out there connected with those words in the same way or that I did, but I knew that that wasn't truth for me. So I knew it wasn't liberty and justice for mine or my family or my children. It was always going to be different for them because, they are just put in that other category. So I think I heard a beep. Let's see if, okay, that we've got sound.
Hello?
Awesome. We hear you now.
Okay, hold on. Let me figure it out.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Aisha, I hear you, sis. It's the same as saying we all have equality. Yeah, and that's not true at all. And it's definitely not true at all. And Miss Elise says, where is the liberty and justice for all? Right. Definitely. Yep, we hear you now. Definitely in the realm of the way that things have been handled, over the years, we're seeing it more and more, and it actually never changed. So
I would not have survived. So look, you're hearing these very candid assessments from the people.
All right, Terrance, what is going on?
So I was on my job laptop actually, and for whatever reason, the sound was not picking up. So I'm going to swap them out. I basically switched laptops. Give me a second.
Oh, awesome. All right.
I have no
Okay.
idea why the sound wasn't picking up. Hold on one second.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, so Altry says we need equity and we need equity. Yep, we do. We've been saying those words for I don't know how long, forever. I don't even know, yeah, we definitely have two Americas, but I don't even know that. Does anybody out there know if kids still say the Pledge of Allegiance in school? I mean, in the preschool that I taught at, we didn't say it. It wasn't mandated, but just wondering out there in Facebook or Aisha, if kids still say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I wonder too, like, I mean, obviously they're having the same experiences that we've always had. Nothing has changed. So are they feeling the same way that I felt, as a child, saying those words and feeling a lot different? Knowing that those words meant nothing for me and mine. They do, but it may not be uniform. Okay, so you think that they do say the Pledge of Allegiance, but it's not necessarily taught to them, or that they have to rehearse it, or is it that they just have somebody else to say it, like one person to read it off and then everybody sit down? Because I remember it was just like, we were like a bunch of drones in an auditorium having to stand up and recite those words. Okay, so it says, Aisha said it may be individual, school, or state-based. Yeah, those words is just, I don't know. I don't know in any other way to say it, but it just didn't resonate with me at all. So yeah, we are living in this space of two Americas. And we're going to talk about these two Americas when it comes to environmental justice. So here we are with Mr. Bankston. No worries. No worries. We know that you're busy. So please, if you can, just share with us who Terrance is and what was it like for you growing up in Newark?
Well, I'm Terrance Bankston. I like to say reared. I learned early on that animals are raised and people are reared, and that comes from the spirit of just community and the whole. It takes a village to raise a child. That when we rear people, we put them on a path to be who they are, but we set the tone and we plant the seeds. And I think we got away from that in terms of our village. Speaking of, the concept of the show, but also that's a part of how I grew up. The Southwood was my village. My father's side of the family started out in Baxter Terrace, and my mother's side started out in Pennington Court. Mm-hmm. And like many Black families back then, there was 8 or 9 siblings on both sides. And when there was a middle class, like most Black people, when you had a little bit of money, what did we do? We bought property. And so we were able to move from the projects and to the number blocks essentially mm-hmm. here. And so most of my life has been spent in the South Ward in terms of Hunterdon Street, Shear Avenue, going to Maple Avenue School, and then going to Arts High School. But right after Arts High School, I'm either at Chancellor Avenue School or at Weekway High School practicing with my fraternity brothers, Beta Alpha Sigma, which those who know that was a very popular, it still is, high school fraternity. And we, our rivals and spirited brothers and sisters were the Sigma Beta Club and the Deltas and Qs from Weekway. They was really popular there. And the Sigma Beta Club from Shabazz. Not that we wasn't spread out through high schools, but this was like the home base, for those particular high school fraternities. And this was truly the alternative to gangs and gang violence. And those orgs are not as active, or not as many are as active as it used to be. And so that's me painting this picture of the difference of when I was growing up versus what we may be experiencing now. I used to go up to Young Life Camp on Aldine and Chancellor Avenue on certain days. Play board games, and we would play spades, just us and my friends from Gold, different areas of the Weekway section. That was cool for us to do. And we ran the streets and we went skating. We did all that too, but we didn't mind going to a community center because we knew the people there loved us and gave us a different type of environment. But also they would ride down the street and catch us here at the skating ring or somewhere else. Like, you coming by the center today on Thursday? What's up? And we would make sure we didn't want to disappoint them. And then we would go to their camp their camp together during the summer. Where is that today? And so that is also why I'm running for South Ward Councilman. So I'm not just the statewide, which is one of the reasons why I'm on tonight, the statewide director, or the primary reason I should say, the statewide statewide organizer for environmental justice for Clean Water Action, which is the largest environmental federation, we used to call it, but environmental organization statewide, but also nationally. This is a national organization. And they celebrate 50 years this year. And they are not concerned, but they're focused or refocusing on the next 50 years, and felt me worthy enough to be in charge of environmental justice, not just here in Newark, where I'm from, and I love dearly, but throughout the state. And I'm glad to also have Parents Engaging Parents coming on as a new community partner for Clean Water Action. I was just on a call earlier with the state director. They're so eager to meet your team and also to just work with you guys, not just on a current project, which I'll talk about. One of the things I'm working on, environmental justice campaigns and what that means. But not just one initiative, but hopefully we can continue this partnership and work on several initiatives, because it is important for us to make environmental justice a part of our daily conversation. This is not something about just ozone layers and things that we may have learned on in school that we thought.
Remember that? Like, it was so out of touch for us. Like, we knew it was a thing, but it was so out of touch when there's things that are tangible in front of our faces every single day that is, relevant to environmental justice.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me, who inspired you to do the work that you do?
Well, 17 years ago, and probably a little bit before that, my aunt Kim Gaddy really was like the only person in Newark screaming and jumping up and down about environmental justice. And back then, no one here was really talking about that. It was all about eggs, bacon, and ham. I mean, really basic. And so if politicians was like, get out of here with that. And I was very young then, but I remember being a teenager, like I said, 17 years ago, where the first environmental justice training I attended, I was invited to by my aunt. And that's how I met the current statewide director, Amy Goldsmith. And from there, next thing I know, in my professional years, Amy hired me as a consultant for certain projects. I helped bring grants to Newark for the Triangle Park and other different initiatives that are existing in the South Ward now. And so my aunt was really a pioneer in terms of environmental justice here. A lot of my City Hall experience was me going to her office after school, after leaving Arts High School, and basically volunteering in different council people's office. She was the first Black female chief of staff, and she's the only chief of staff to work for at least 3 different council people. And so my life and my family's life has been a life of service. So that is always a motivation. But we always don't agree on different things, and that's a part of growth. That's a part of development, but not forgetting where you came from. And so it's that, and then it's the motivation of having my house shook by airplanes, and I'm asking, why is this happening? And when I go to my cousin's houses in Dover, New Jersey, or Summit, New Jersey, their houses are not shaking from planes. It's weird. their parks. When we're in their parks, their trees are much more healthy. There's not a bunch of tractor trailers honking by the residential areas and honking by parks. And so I would notice that difference because I had that experience of going from here to there, and I dared to ask why. And then why is this acceptable? And that became a part of my life work.
Exactly.
Hold on a second.
Exactly. Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
on the phone, guys, please.
yeah, we can't forget that.
Sorry about that.
You know, it's all on purpose, right? That, you know, those planes are coming, you know, are flying over your property and shaking your house, and because
polluting our air. You know, planes and things like that are intentionally rerouted over Short Hills and over Montclair because of racism. Really, it's out, and you know, part of what Kim Gaddy says is our complexion deserves protection, and that's, you know, and that's a part of one of the campaigns, not that slogan, but one of the campaigns I'm working on is the NJ Green Amendment. We're trying to get New Jersey to be trailblazers, not bandwagon. And so other states have passed legislation in terms of the Green Amendment. And the Green Amendment is all about saying it's illegal from the beginning. It's sanctionable from the beginning to treat us any different than you would treat suburbs. And so we deserve clean air and we deserve clean water. That's
right. That's right. So tell me about the and you've been doing this fight for quite a while. Tell me about the work that you did with Clean Water Action in 2005 regarding the water, because I know that a lot of, you know, we all heard about Flint, and then it seemed like everybody else started getting on the, just like you said, the bandwagon of really doing an investigation on what the water really was for cities across, you know, the nation. So tell us about that work that you did then.
Well, the water aspect was all about just saying, you know, Flint came in, and actually the work I did do was not necessarily do clean water. I still am a contractor consultant for the National Resources Defense Council, NRDC, and that is an international agency which is really led by mostly scientists and lawyers, and was founded by a group of lawyers, and it's all about defending you know, the precious jewels of the world, from water to animals rights. And part of and they were the company that did sue Flint. And part of what happened here in Newark is that they too sued Newark because the city was being belligerent and irresponsible in terms of acknowledging that there was a problem. When it was made clear that there was a problem, but for generations, it had been passed down to be ignored because it wasn't an issue. Folks thought we were worthy, that we deserved, that it should be have been dealt with generations ago, and so it came to a head. And pretty much the NRDC was being criticized for coming into Newark. You know, you can't circumvent culture, and so how you went into a Flint, you may not be able to necessarily come into a Newark, and to their credit, they were challenged to say, well, don't just come in and sue us, be a part of the solution. And part of their answer to that, or their response to that, was contracting myself to serve as the community liaison for them. And part of my role with that was being a part of the solution, not criticizing the mayor or the administration, but being a part of the solution, going around door to door and inspecting the filters of those that were delivered by the city. And if they were not properly hooked up, or if they had defaulted, we simply replaced them. If they did not receive it, we made sure that they got one. If they needed replacement filters and they didn't have enough, or they did not receive a proper quantity, we replaced them. And in that, we were doing an assessment, and they eventually brought me on the legal side to actually not just hold community information sessions, but to also again go out and do some troubleshooting and some assessment that I also can't go to too many details about because the litigation is still ongoing. But again, being a part of the solution, going out there and making sure our seniors, our pregnant women, our children were not drinking water that really could kill them.
Right. Yeah. I can't tell you. I began working in Trenton in 2014, and I was in a building. And the first year, I believe, like the first year and a half, we had the water fountains were available. And then there's starting to be like a lot of problems with the water, and they shut down we had no water fountains like for over they never opened them back up. So my thing is, if the water isn't safe enough for you to open up the water fountains in the school building, it's not going to be safe enough for you to drink at home. If you're
I mean, we
within
mentioned Kim Gaddy earlier and being a pioneer in terms of environmental justice here in Newark, and definitely in other areas of the state. Again, because again, in EJ communities are considered poor Black communities, or poor what would we call it now? Black and brown communities. And that's what EJ communities are concerned. Even that classification alone tells you there's a problem, because every community should be an EJ community, right?
Exactly.
Right. And so EJ communities are Trenton, Patterson, Jersey City, Linden, Newark. You know, that's a thing throughout the state. But Kim Gaddy was on the Newark School Board at the time, and she's the board member because she had the skills, she had the competence, she had the what we need in the now, she had what we needed in the then. Right. But those are skills that this elected official brought to the table that no one else had. Expertise that this elected official brought to the table that no one else had. And there's a thing with that. Your elected officials should have expertise in something besides turkeys and toys. And so because of that, she was able to work with her colleagues and make it clear to them and make it clear to the superintendent. And she is the reason why the fountains were shut down, or else our babies would have still been drinking contaminated water until the rest figured it out.
Well, you know what? Shout out to you, Miss Kim, Miss Gaddy. We thank you for that, because, as you know, when we think about families, you got to think about the people that are working there as well. But obviously, most importantly, those babies are affected 100% more than we would be as adults. And
well, the adults in the building are responsible for the children. The children are not responsible for the adults. And so it's incumbent upon even principals to be educated in environmental justice, because you are possibly, come on, I went to Arts High School my first year in I was the first class of the new building. I was the first class of the television communications major, which was a new major at that time in 2000. We had wires and ventilation systems exposed in our new building, our classrooms. They would have never done that. Basically, the construction workers ripped us off, and adults allowed it to happen. So if a student didn't say anything and bring it to the press, we would have been, imagine having no ceiling and you're sitting in a classroom.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And wires
my kids are actually been going through that.
Come on, it's absolutely absurd. So
it's insane. To the point where my kids, they're replacing their air conditioning system at their school, and in certain classrooms they didn't even have any air. Like, they didn't have anything. Like, they didn't have heat. Like, my daughter is telling me she's cold in her class. So there's a lot of things going on within our society as a whole, when it comes to that, and environmental justice, and the things that they're doing within Black and brown communities as well. So we often hear that term, health is wealth. So what is it that our communities can do to advocate for water and air safety?
Well, going on cleanwater.org and clicking on the New Jersey, this is, like I said, a national agency. You can connect to our office. We have one in Long Branch, and we also have one in Montclair, and we have a satellite office in partnership with the South Ward Environmental Alliance, at least temporarily here in the South Ward. And so we do have some sort of Newark presence in terms of connecting with myself. And then we have, again, our Montclair office. I can put my email and also some other links in the chat at some point, or just give it to you to share with your audience. But there's a few campaigns that I'm working on right now. The first one that I'll mention is in partnership with Parents Engaging Parents. And that is around the Amazon warehouse issue, and a little backdrop on that. Why is that important? Amazon is the largest warehouse-based employer now in the state of New Jersey, not just in the state of New Jersey, in this region. Okay, so there's a lot of revenue that comes along with that. And the board of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey authorized its executive director sometimes last year to go enter into a lease agreement with Amazon. And it was done so with no regard for the community and how this community was being affected. What community? Not just the South Ward, but the West Ward. Not just the South and West Ward, but Elizabeth. Not just Elizabeth, but Jersey City. Primarily, we're talking about. And well, you say, well, Terrance, how is that? How does the warehouse and Amazon impact those areas? Well, our port is very important to start with that, and we also have our airport, but it is the backyard to many who live in Elizabeth. It's the backyard to Weequahic Park here in the South Ward. It's the backyard to the area I grew up in, the Lower Weequahic section. It's the immediate backyard of the Dayton Street community, a impoverished, area, an area that is not well attended to, an area that has not enough low income housing, but all low income pretty much residents, elderly and seniors, and their backyard is the most polluted. Imagine that. And it's caused by businesses like this. And so to come into our community and our elected officials not require them to have a conversation became a problem. But it's not just an environmental justice problem. I represent a coalition, good jobs, health, clean air. And it's also the labor side. So majority of the employees who work at Amazon come from the South and the West Wards of Newark, and they have no labor union protection. But they're pretty much treated not well, and the working conditions aren't well, in both in terms of health, environment, health, but also just in terms of labor, and that's a serious issue. But then the environmental piece is they're putting more airplanes in our air, shaking more houses, polluting more of our air, as we are in partnership with the Southwood Environmental Alliance, presently doing air quality monitoring in 10 different sites throughout the South Ward. Okay, because it's an important issue. That's why we are partnering, doing a truck count with the Southwood Environmental Alliance. Right where we were doing the truck count on Phelan Heights and Avenue, a week after the truck count was a native killed by a tractor trailer, because these things don't belong in our community, not in residential areas. They simply don't. Not just because it's polluting the air, but it's ripping up our grounds. Come on, potholes. We know about how that is. And so that brings me to my other point, or back to my other point with Amazon. More trucks on our street, not just trucks polluting the air, because these are not electric vehicles. They're not retrofitted vehicles. There are more vehicles. Every click we do, because come on, we order from Amazon. How many packages come? How many times? And you can make one order, and you may get 3 trucks in one day on your one block. And
I see that definitely happening.
They're ripping up every click is killing us. That's a reality. And so we want them to come to the table and have a conversation with the experts, the people that come from the community, that represent labor, that represent environmental justice, and we need to have a conversation. So the lease was halted, thank goodness, and we've it was supposed to be signed in November. We're challenging the governor. We need your help. We're challenging the governor. We're challenging the Port Authority board members, who many of you don't even know. You don't even know who they are. The most powerful group around here, and you don't even know them. They control our port. And guess what? They never have a meeting in Newark, where the port is. We got to go to New York to see them. We got to go to Jersey City to see them.
Interesting.
The most powerful board. They're paid 6 figures to serve on this board. They have the type of security that the president has if you go to a board meeting. And they're appointed by the governor of New Jersey and the governor of New York. What are you doing about it? Who do you know? Do you know them? Did you write them a letter? Are you having jobs? They control jobs at the port. Come on. Resources. Where's our voice? And so this is bigger than Amazon. It's bigger than Amazon. And so when we talk about this conversation we want to have a community benefits agreement with Amazon if you're going to be here, because we understand why the mayor's saying, listen, it's about the jobs. But listen, mayor, we ain't running for mayor. We ain't trying to run for governor. We live here. We stay here, and we're concerned about how people are treated, even if we don't work there. Exactly. So for $20 an hour, okay, And I'm gonna get back. Let me go back to the roads. So, for example, what would be an example of what would be a good um um offer, you know, for or a line item in a community benefits agreement?
Mm-hmm.
How about you're giving money back to Newark to pave the streets so that it's
Mm-hmm.
not on the backs of taxpayers? Since you adding to in a major way
Right.
an already pre-existing problem that we pay for year after year, and we still say you don't do it well enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Our roads are not smooth enough. Our roads are not clean enough. If you're going to pollute our air and our parks, what are you doing to help protect us or counter that? When you make all of this money, when we say all of this money, they're the wealthiest, they're the biggest, but they're
Mm-hmm.
just a prime example. There are warehouses being built throughout New Jersey, taking up farmland. And when the suburban
Yeah.
areas say no to it, they put it in our community over in place of public housing and affordable
Mm-hmm.
housing, like this whole thing going on with Liongate. Another environmental hazard is adding 400. First of all, we was told it's going to be replaced with affordable housing. So now
Right.
there's all of that's being wiped out, and you're putting a production studio there. I'm not saying that Newark can't benefit from a production studio, but where's the benefit community benefits agreement?
Exactly.
Where's the
Exactly.
commitment up front? We're gonna have to beg, borrow, and steal, right? Come on, this is Hollywood. Once they here, they here.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but on the environmental justice side, the first thing I notice is 400 more cars and 65 more diesel trucks. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
In the
I
backyard,
was
right
just
behind our golf course, right behind the playground where we take our kids to play and cook out at and have birthday parties at.
yeah. I was actually speaking with a friend who
Mhm.
is a truck driver. So he was basically breaking down to me how it works with getting the most environmentally friendly vehicles out to the ports. And actually, he kind of like, slipped some information to me, and it was he let me know that there are times where trucks are allowed to be grandfathered in, and they are not the most environmentally beneficial trucks. They're still running on 100% diesel fuels and still having all those emissions to come out. But because they are grandfathered in, because maybe their agreements with the port, they're allowed to stay as long
Who
as
are
their trucks
mostly
are
white
clean.
companies. Keep that in mind. So
Exactly.
black and brown is not at the top of their priority
Mhm,
list. Money
mhm,
is.
mhm, mhm,
And who gets hired there is driven by that.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so part of even what you're talking about is 2 points about the trucks. One, that's why the NJ Green Amendment is important. And we need
mhm,
more residents talking about it and calling the state legislators to get the hearing. We need it. It's been waiting. We need the bill passed. We're close, but we need a hearing. And
mhm,
it doesn't look like we're going to get one before this session ends, but it needs to be on in the fall. And the way it gets on is by you calling Senator Teresa Ruiz and calling our governor and telling them, putting pressure on your legislators, really, not just the governor. We want the governor to know that you care too, but the legislators.
mhm.
And get this on, get the NJ Green Amendment. And I'll share some resources with you too, that you can share with your network.
Sure.
But get them, let's get a hearing for this so that we can get the NJ Green Amendment passed, because then it'll be illegal to treat us like this, period.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
like I said, it'll be sanctionable to treat us like this, period.
Yeah, so Aisha asked, where's the conversation about forcing more environmentally friendly vehicles? I know at this time we're in a crisis with having those chips and having the availability of those and cars to be built.
The
Um,
conversation, Aisha, is happening with Clean Water Action. Please reach out to us. I put my email in the chat, but it's T Bankston, TBANKSTON at cleanwater.org. I'm adding it in now, cleanwater.org. But this is this is a part of our daily conversation and part of our daily fight statewide. Would love to have you learn more about Clean Water Action and also become a member. We have over 100,000 members throughout the state, but we need more people of color
mhm,
to represent our issues in our community.
mhm. Yep, yep, that is for sure. That is for sure. Have you been in, heard of any families that you've touched over the last, few years of, some immediate like sicknesses due to the pollution that is in the area?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Have you heard
Froze a bit.
of any sicknesses relative to the pollution in the area as of lately?
Well, right now we really are focused on, well, in terms of the work I'm doing, it affects families, period. But it goes back to the Amazon project. The employees there are, required to do. So we're trying to get as many voices that actually are either former or current employees in terms of the tapping into the family unit aspect. So that is what I would say would be the connection to families in terms of what I'm doing, the work I'm doing right now on behalf of Clean Water Action. And that is because, for example, imagine a single mother, right? Or a father who has 2 jobs and he has kids, he has a family to take care of, but you have mandatory overtime without prior notice. And if you don't do it, you're fired. So whether that means cooking for your kids, whether that means taking them to school, whether that means going to a second job that you really, really need, you are put in that compromising situation. And I can tell you, if you were to look at the last Port Authority meeting and you hear some of the reactions from the mothers and the fathers who are impacted the way I'm telling you in the South and West Ward, they are grateful. Amazon workers who are afraid to speak up are sending smoke signals saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Not to Terrance Bankston, but to the work that the coalition is doing, because there's many unions involved on one piece, and then there are environmental justice organizations involved, and we are just blessed. I'm just blessed to be one of those voices and representing the community that I love and I come from, so I know it's real.
Yeah, that's for sure. How the Amazon dynamic has affected so many people, and it's continuing to affect people. So, folks, if you could hold back or scale back a little bit on this Amazon thing, like go back outside, go to the store, take a walk. This click of a button. And you know what? I'm gonna say that I was guilty of doing that in the beginning. But honestly, hearing what people are going through and how the conditions that they're working in, and now we're really getting more in tuned with the way it's affecting communities, Black and Brown communities. Amazon don't hear from me no more. No, I'm not clicking.
My daughter orders from there feverishly. I even do my restaurant that I have in Belleville, a product that my customers really love. We have a subscription there, but it doesn't make me not conscious of the problem. And it's, we shouldn't feel guilty about convenience. But part of why we have advocates and elected officials is that you should be having these conversations. We shouldn't be put in this situation. Because if you live in our community, you come from our community, why would you want this for your kids? Why would you want this? Oh, wait, do your kids not live here? Right. Or do you not really live here? Or are you just ignorant to the fact? Are you obsolete? Are you not capable to best represent us in this era? Maybe. You know what I'm saying? So we got to ask those questions, because they are there to represent us. They're the front line of defense, not us. We shouldn't have to beg for clean air. We shouldn't have to beg for clean water. Or it's fresh air, I should say.
Yeah, it's a right. It's a right. It's not a gift. Aisha said, thank you for being real with us.
Oh, I appreciate you, Aisha. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, it's definitely a right and not a gift. It's a right. So just tell me a little bit more past, what we do know now of, you know, all these backdoor deals that are happening, what is your next biggest finding in this work?
That the people closest to us do us the most harm. It's not the spooky white man behind the magic curtain down the yellow brick road. It's right down Broad Street. It's right in your town hall. And it's not everybody, but it's too many. Silence is complacent. And that's unfortunate.
Yes. So thank you for sharing all of your resources here, and I'm going to definitely put them up on the comments. Oop, did I lose you? I think I lost Terrance. Hopefully he's able to join, but that was the realist conversation, and a lot of what we know is factual information that's happening within our Black and Brown communities and throughout New Jersey, because I do know that I've seen a lot of advocating around, you know, stopping these warehouses from being built within farmland communities that are in South Jersey. And I know that there's plenty of people coming together to definitely push back on that happening within their backyards, especially having, you know, that thinking about planes. For me, planes unnerve me, and it's probably my PTSD from 9/11. But yeah, to have planes shaking your whole neighborhood or going super low, that's a problem, and it's a problem that you know, it needs to be addressed. And hopefully, Terrance, we could have you back to join us again with some more updates on the work that we're doing.
I mean, you guys do an amazing job of communicating and making these type of sessions available. I'm more than happy to know Clean Water would be too, because part of what I'm contributing as their new environmental justice organizer is kind of, you know, introducing new ways of engagement even for them, not again on the statewide level. And so podcasting, and not just us having one, but you seeing Black faces on everyday podcasts talking about this is a Black issue. It's a Black and brown issue. Okay. So this is our issue. Talking about it, I think it's important. And so I don't mind coming back once a month, because the work I'm doing is ongoing. Like I said, we have this Amazon campaign, but Amazon is the largest warehouse. We also have a warehouse campaign statewide that is, like I said, affecting from farmers to our urban areas. We also are doing lead line replacement, similar to what we did in Jersey City, Linden, Patterson, and a few other places. That program is starting in June, and we need some of you and your team members to be involved. There's employment opportunities, there's training opportunities, and then there's just engagement and information and training opportunities that would be available to us in our community when it hasn't been, and so that you can be informed and you can be educated, and then you can be an advocate. And so the other one, like I said, the NJ Green Amendment, and that's about making it illegal to treat us this way environmentally to begin with. And the power plant in the east, in the Ironbound, that's a big hot issue. If you don't know about it, Google it. Power plant in the Ironbound in Newark. It's a huge issue. So those are just 4 things I'm working on, but I also am looking at how do we train more people of color, because this is a lucrative career path too, and we need more people representing us in it. I'm okay in terms of I'm not uncomfortable with being sometimes the only black, particularly black young man in these type of rooms. But I don't.
Mhm.
We need that's not representation. That's one person. We need other black men and other black women and other Latino men and other Latino women in the environmental justice space, career wise, training wise, and advocacy wise.
Yes.
So this is it's here, and we got to be on the right side of history, like I like to say.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Aisha says on Facebook, change starts when we acknowledge the problem and seek out ways to solve them. Yeah,
But being
and
solutions driven is so important. That's what I hear her saying, and not just solutions driven. We have to give things a name. We cannot we can't be that Southern country family, that black family sweeping things under the rug. It's a problem, and we are responsible for holding people accountable, but we also responsible for being that Marcus Garvey, self-educating ourselves. When they don't give it to us, we go get it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, thank you for your go get it attitude and all the information that you brought for us to on tonight for our community to learn how to advocate for themselves and for their community. Definitely take a look. Join the Amazon accountability movement. We're looking for good jobs, cleanair.org, and we're saying no to the secret hub that's happening, those backdoor deals and powwows that they're having. No more. We need to be at the forefront of these conversations and the movements that they're making and the moves that they're making for our communities. And having actionable solutions
Yes, ma'am.
upfront.
Yes, ma'am.
Upfront.
So, like I
So
said, I'm more than eager to come back. We can have an environmental justice day once a month when I will come back, but also I can bring other folks in this space as special guests who can talk about the specific type of work they do. Because there's environmental justice advocates, there's environmental justice agency, but certain agencies may focus more on different aspects. So there's layers to this. Clean water while it's an environmental justice giant, it is very grassroots oriented, and that's one of the things I really do appreciate about having the opportunity to work with not just my colleagues, but for such an esteemed and really legendary organization.
No, thank you for that. And we thank you for your work that you're doing as well with Clean Water Action. Please, if you want to see this work done and executed in your community, please reach out. Visit our website, pepnj.org, pepnj.org, hit the donate button, and so that we can continue this work throughout the community of New Jersey, because this is where we're at. We're in New Jersey. So thank you again, Mr. Bankston. Looking forward to having a few more folks on with you. We are going to do this monthly, get this word out of the work that we're doing within the community with environmental justice. Okay.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate the time tonight. I see you all next month.
All right. See you then. Thanks.